As we roll into a new year, it is natural to look back and think, wait, was it really that long ago? Today we are traveling back to the year 1986 in the United States. This was a time when the video game industry was still recovering from the crash of 1983. Retailers were cautious, and even the phrase video game console made some people uneasy. That is why 1986 is so important. It was not the year with the most games, it was the year when a small number of titles helped convince America that home gaming was safe to buy again. In this video, we are counting down the top 5 best-selling video games of 1986 in the United States, using the best available unit sales estimates for that year. Alright, let us begin the countdown! Starting at number 5, Excitebike, with about 500,000 copies. Excitebike earns its place in the top 5 because it delivered 2 things early NES games desperately needed: instant fun and long-lasting replay value. On the surface, it is simply a motocross racing game. But it had personality. You were not only racing other bikes, you were managing your own mistakes. Push too hard and the engine overheats. Play it safe and you fall behind. Miss a jump and you wipe out. That constant balance between speed and control is what kept Excitebike from feeling like a one-weekend rental. Then there was the feature that quietly made it special: the track editor. In the year 1986, letting players build their own courses on a home console was a big deal. It turned Excitebike into a pass-the-controller game, where friends made ridiculous tracks, dared each other to clear impossible jumps, and argued over who built the toughest course. Excitebike was not just a racing game. It was an early example of players creating their own fun. Number 4, Gyromite, with about 500,000 copies. Gyromite being in the top 5 is one of the most 1986 things possible. Gyromite isn't here because it became a timeless classic, it is here because of the robot. Nintendo was marketing the NES as an entertainment system, not a video game console. The robot accessory, Rob, helped sell that idea. It made the NES feel like futuristic technology instead of another risky video game purchase. Gyromite was one of the main games tied to that strategy. As a game, it is a clever mix of puzzles and platforming. Timing matters, hazards are constant, many obstacles feel more like mechanical traps than traditional enemies. But the real story is this: Gyromite wasn't just a game. It was part of Nintendo's sales pitch to America. And in 1986, that pitch worked. Number 3, Duck Hunt, with about 500,000 copies. Duck Hunt didn't just sell copies, it converted skeptics. This game was a living room magic trick. You aim at the television. You pull the trigger. A duck falls. Everyone watching understands it instantly, even someone who does not normally play video games. That simplicity was powerful. In a post-crash market, Nintendo needed games that felt approachable, not complicated. Duck Hunt could be understood in seconds, and that made it perfect for families and casual players. The Zapper also helped. It made the experience feel different from anything else available on a home system at the time. Bundling played a major role as well. When a piece of hardware becomes a must-have, the game that comes with it often becomes a sales giant. Duck Hunt was that game. Number 2, Kung Fu, with about 800,000 copies. This entry surprises many people today. Modern retro discussions usually focus on games like Mario, Zelda, Metroid, or Mega Man. But in 1986 America, Kung Fu was everywhere. It was fast, simple, and immediately satisfying. You moved forward, punched and kicked enemies, climbed floors, and faced a boss at the end of each stage. You didn't need a manual, you didn't need to learn complex systems. After 2 minutes, you already understood the game. Kung Fu also fit a major trend of the time. It delivered arcade-style action at home without the need for quarters. For players who grew up in arcades, it felt like progress. Not a replacement for the arcade, but close enough to scratch that itch. And last but not least, Coming in at number 1, Super Mario Bros. Moving more than 1 million copies. At number 1, the answer feels obvious. But Super Mario Bros. Isn't number 1 simply because Nintendo promoted it heavily. It's number 1 because it made people believe the NES wasn't a temporary trend. Before Super Mario Bros., many home console games still felt stiff, confusing, or overly punishing. Mario was different almost immediately. Movement felt smooth and responsive in a way players weren't used to yet. Jumping felt precise. Running felt fast. Every action felt intentional. The game also taught players how to play without stopping them to explain anything. The first level quietly introduced enemies, power-ups, hazards, and momentum, all without using text. Players learned by doing, and that made the experience feel natural instead of intimidating. Difficulty increased at a steady pace. Early stages built confidence, while later worlds demanded real skill. When players failed, it usually felt fair. They knew what went wrong, and they wanted to try again. Secrets played a huge role as well. Hidden blocks, warp zones, and alternate routes encouraged exploration and conversation. Kids talked about discoveries at school. Friends showed each other shortcuts. The game created shared experiences outside the television. Just as important, Super Mario Bros. Was incredibly watchable. Seeing someone else play it made you want to turn. Parents stopped to watch. Siblings gathered around. That mattered in a living room environment because games that pulled in spectators sold more copies. The NES was being sold not just to kids, but to parents, families, and cautious retailers who were still unsure about video games. Super Mario Bros. Helped win over all of them by proving that a home console game could be fun, approachable, and worth the investment. Once that trust was established, everything else became possible. More games, more genres, and a much larger audience. And once that happened, the rest of the industry followed. So what does this top 5 really tell us? It tells us that the year 1986 in America wasn't about variety, it was about confidence. Nintendo wasn't trying to flood store shelves. It was trying to prove that video games could be trusted again. Each of these 5 games played a role in that process. Excitebike delivered replayability and creativity. Gyromite helped sell the idea of the NES as more than just a console. Duck Hunt made gaming approachable for everyone. Kung Fu brought the arcade experience home. And Super Mario Bros. Became the blueprint for what a successful home console game could be. You may also notice what is missing. There is no Zelda and no Metroid, because those games are more closely tied to the year 1987 in the United States when the NES library truly exploded. If you would like to see a follow-up ranking for 1987, let me know. If you enjoyed this kind of gaming history breakdown, please hit the like button so YouTube knows to share it with more retro fans. And if you want more videos like this, consider subscribing. The best-selling games of the year, 1996, are coming next, and that list looks like a completely different world compared to 1986. Until then, keep on gaming.